Hey Queens, welcome. I'm going to be doing a video about Neptune today. Okay, so in my humble opinion, Neptune is kind of malefic. It's a part of your chart or an area of your chart which you can experience a lot of delusion, a lot of confusion, a lot of fog, a lot of lack of clarity, a whole lot of what the hell even is going on, what even is this. And it's the area of like your life where you're not always aware of how things really truly are. Like sometimes it can be really, really bad, and you're stuck in this kind of belief system of it's not really that bad because, and then you make excuses and you see things with a rose tinted glass through the rose tinted glass. So you just don't ever get the full kind of conscious idea of what's going on. On the flip side, depending on how your Neptune is aspected in your chart, it can also signal a lot of spirituality and a lot of healing. But you need to have a look. If we're talking positive aspects, we're talking about sextiles and trines to other planets in your chart, which is going to show you where you've got that kind of healing, nurturing energy, where you're able to see things through a spiritual lens, where you're able to transcend and kind of understand like collectively what something means on a deeper level, that type of vibe. And if it's like squaring or there's like a negative aspect there, it's going to show you where like you are being played like a fool in your life and you need to wake up, especially on your transit chart. If you feel like your life is a bit hazy, have a look where Neptune is currently transiting in your chart and just be careful. Okay, let's get into it. Oh, on a side note, if I see Neptune in the 1st, 12th, or 6th house, okay, I have seen a tendency with these placements to cause drug problems and major escapism issues and major mental health problems. Okay, just saying, especially if they're negatively aspected, there tends to be issues there. Anyway, I'm not going to go too deep into that because I don't want it to be too depressing. But anyway, Neptune in the 1st house, these people have a blurring of their sense of self. They lack boundaries with themselves. They self-sacrifice too much and they can be extremely victim, like very much like a victimhood type of vibe, basically. Marilyn Monroe has this placement. So Marilyn Monroe, yes, she was a siren. Yes, she was visibly the kind of siren archetype of being extremely seductive, which women with Neptune in the 1st are very seductive usually, and very magnetic. However, she was abused. Like, let's get it straight. Let's come out of delusion, because that's what Neptune is there to delude us. So let's come away from that delusion for a minute and understand that she was actually abused and she didn't live an easy life. She also passed away from drug overdose, which is related to what Neptune. That is a very Neptunian way of passing away. May she rest in peace. Okay, moving on. 2nd house. Okay, the 2nd house of Neptune, this is giving me somebody who either they have issues with money, they don't define their money clearly. You may actually be somebody who you're very optimistic with your money, like you want to help people because Neptune is that healing kind of spiritual vibe. You can be somebody who lends a lot of money to other people, to friends, co-workers, family. You just like say, here, have £10,000, it's okay, you can give it back when you're ready. They just don't, and that is a very Neptunian in the 2nd house energy. Or it could be that you always think that you have more money than you actually do. So yeah, you need to be very financially literate there, and with your self-worth as well, and look after your possessions. You may struggle with losing possessions, losing valuable bits of jewellery, because you've got Neptune in your 2nd house, so you feel like your possessions are always kind of slipping out of your fingers. So yeah, that's something that we can work on, hopefully. Okay, Neptune in the 3rd house. This is giving me somebody with a thought process which is very, very non-linear. their thought process is very poetic, very spiritual, and not always grounded in reality. So the way that you communicate, you may be very like softly spoken, very like, oh, isn't that nice? Similar to if you've got Mercury in Pisces, if you know, you know. But yeah, it's to do with your expression, your communication. You may have a very kind of blurred relationship with your siblings. Like you may never know fully where you stand with your siblings, or feeling like there's some kind of confusion with your siblings. But yeah, there's a need for clarity in your thought processes with this energy with Neptune there. Yeah, and being mentally alert is also something that's good, like not being so distracted and optimistic in the way that you think, being grounded and coming back down to reality. Neptune in the fourth house. Okay, so you may have had a upbringing in the most negative sense. You may have had a Neptune upbringing which may have involved parents who escaped, parents who were not entirely present, or there was issues with addiction involved. Okay, I would say that it can cause people to have, on the flip side, you could have quite a spiritual upbringing, a lot of like love and a lot of like spiritual insight, a very kind of Piscean upbringing. Maybe your parents were like hippies or something. But overall, in the negative sense, what I have seen is that there's kind of like not a very strong sense of home. Like there's always like either like a moving of home. To be honest, that's more Uranus on the IC than anything else. Moving homes a lot, but Neptune is giving me like not a strong sense of security growing up, or not a strong sense of like strong family values, strong family upbringing. There's a blurring there, especially with the mum, perhaps issues with having a good relationship with the mother figure, or female energy in general. But yeah, let's move on to the fifth house. Neptune, the fifth house, is giving me somebody who is very creative in a spiritual way. You're the type of person to like open up an Etsy shop and start selling like candles, or do something really creative and fun. What I would say though is that you may find that your romantic life is quite blurry. You may lack boundaries when you're first getting on the dating scene. You know, you may just be like, you just let people in too easily, you let people into your life, you let them in to meet your family way too quick, or you over romanticize your, you know, casual partnerships. You'll be dating somebody for years and it's still very casual, with no clear boundaries of what this relationship is. And in your head, it's something serious. It was going somewhere, because Neptune blurred the reality of the truth, which is it's not going anywhere. There's no formalization of the relationship. There was no progress. It was built on false promises. What I will say though is, with the children aspect here, it can cause you to be very, very spiritual in your child rearing. So when your time hopefully does come to have children, you may be somebody who feels a very spiritual connection to your children, and your parenting is done from a place of like self-sacrifice, and it's done from a place of like healing. Okay. In this sixth house, Neptune here, if it's negatively aspected, there can be an issue with taking prescription medications and having prescription medication addictions. Just going to get that out of the way, because obviously this also does relate to diet and health, and kind of all things related to like medication and anything health related. So obviously that's what that is. There is and can be a tendency to escape into the workplace and using of the workplace to run away from daily routine. Neptune in the sixth house can cause somebody to struggle to get a routine together, and they are constantly avoiding being responsible and getting things done and being practical. You may, on the flip side, you may actually work a very spiritual job that would probably suit you quite well. This is a placement which would probably really, really struggle with like the 9 to 5 grind and like burnout energy. So if this is something, a placement that you have a look into going into the spiritual practices as a means of income for you. Just saying, you don't have to listen to me. But yeah, there's something to do with work there. You may not have clear boundaries in the workplace and in your day-to-day routine. I think to overcome that, try and get like a to-do list and stay on track of what needs to be done and try your best to get it done, basically. And learn to be of service to other people, but without being self-sacrificing, finding the balance, okay? Neptune in the 7th house, this energy is somebody who okay, trigger warning, they can be very, very much abused and neglected in their close relationships, especially in their marriage, and they don't see it. That's the type of person who they've been married to an abuser for 10 years. I still love him. Neptune in the 7th. They don't have a clear reality check of what's going on, of how bad the abuse is, of how bad the situation has gotten. They're completely clueless. Okay, so Neptune in the 7th house, be realistic about how your relationships are with other people. Are you being abused? Are you happy? Are your needs being met? Are you being played like a violin? Yeah, there's a need for clarity there. You can be a very self-sacrificing partner, and you can be like a victim of relationships, basically, and you have like a strong victim mindset when you're in your marriages and your close relationships. But this is just a reminder to come away from that and to reclaim your strength and your power in your close marriage or your relationships, or whichever kind of these energies it is. You don't need to save your marital partner. Okay, you're not acting as a maternal I'm saving you type of superhero energy. That's not how healthy relationships are built. Okay, Neptune in the 8th house. Okay, this is somebody who there is a, first of all, you may have a very spiritual death. Just putting it out there, that is one valid interpretation. It could be a spiritual death, or it could be a death with addiction and overdose, but there's like a blurring of the boundaries there, okay? Hopefully a spiritual and calm death, that's what I'm hoping for you. But yeah, there is a need with this placement to be really, really clear on things like debt, taxes, joint assets, intimacy. There really needs to be a boundary of like, who do I let into my life? Who do I join assets with? What assets are mine? What assets are yours? My advice with this placement is have a joint bank account with your partner or your marital partner or whoever that may be, your significant other, and then have your own bank account of your own money, and you don't need to constantly merge assets, okay? If you're not ready or you're not comfortable to do that, or it doesn't make sense, keep your own bank account. That's what I would say for that placement. And yeah, just be careful to not rely on other people overly. There is like a blurring of like, oh, maybe I can just rely on other people and, you know, let people in. And the answer here is no, don't. Have a clear sense of what works for you and run with it, basically. And yeah, just getting your financial things in order, get your will in place, your inheritance if you have kids that you are planning to give to, hopefully. And also, yeah, tax and debt, get all of those things sorted out. And yeah, let's move on to the 9th. Okay, so the 9th house, Neptune, this is giving me somebody who is probably like quite a spiritual explorer. You may have a lot of like healing or kind of eye-opening experiences, spiritual awakening experiences when you go abroad. You may have like a romantic experience abroad, perhaps. Just be careful, like when you're abroad, don't get involved with any drugs, don't get involved in just don't get involved in anything like Neptunian, let's say. Yeah, just have strict boundaries when you're abroad, basically. That's what I would say. You may also find it really healing to have higher knowledge or higher understanding of philosophy, education, that type of thing. On a spiritual level, you may enjoy looking at philosophy, religion, anything kind of spiritual would probably interest you. Okay, moving on to your career, which is the 10th house. Okay, if you have Neptune in the 10th house, there may be like a fogging or a blurring of your reputation or your social status and your career. You may not really fully understand who you are in the workplace. You may have people projecting onto you in the workplace, in your career, in your public image. You do come across as very self-sacrificing, very caring in your public persona. People really do love how kind of like healing you are in the workplace. But yeah, there probably will be one or two people in your workplace who do try to cross your boundaries and test you in one way or another. And to alchemize this placement, there's a strong need for boundaries with your career. If you want to go up the career ladder, this kind of Neptunian energy will be like, oh, you're fine, just stay in the same job for 20 years, that's fine. But there is a need for some clarity there, that you've worked this job for 20 years. Maybe it would be good to kind of see what else is out there and have a look if there's a higher paying job, or maybe there's something better, an easy opportunity that I could make money from. So yeah, you may also like change careers as well. Moving on to community, 11th house, Neptune. 11th house, Neptune in the 11th house. This is giving me somebody like you're probably the spiritual friend, okay? There may be like a lack of boundaries with friendships, or not understanding what's going on with friendships. Yeah, and also because it's the house of humanitarian work and community, that you are probably somebody who feels the pain of the collective on a deeper level. But yeah, there is a need to kind of understand and to be aware that you don't need to become friends with everyone, and you don't need to save other people via friendships, okay? Your friendship circle should serve you as well as serving them and the collective, okay? Spirituality. House number 12, okay. With this is giving me somebody who is extremely spiritual. So Neptune here is in its home environment. This can give me somebody who's clairsentient, clairaudient. Is that even a word? Yes, or they may be able to talk to the dead, or they may be able to transcend or do things that are spiritually very, very high vibrational, basically. That's what I would say about that placement. Yeah, and you may access this side of yourself in solitude, especially. Okay, it is the place of self-undoing, and Neptune does fog things and it make things hazy, okay? So there is a need here to be mentally alert and mentally aware, and not try to mentally escape all the time by being alone or running off or using drugs and alcohol to get away from the reality, okay? With Neptune in the 12th house, there is a strong sense of needing to come back down to reality, coming back down to earth, down to routine, away from addiction, and stop constantly using bad habits as a way of coping with your kind of thought processes. Journaling, meditation, all of that, and being on top of your mental health is key. Okay, bye.